Hello and welcome to our channel. Today, we'll recap and review an American psychological thriller film called House at the End of the Street. Let's check it out.
She was just getting wasted and trashy, and he was so nice and gentle.
It's a stormy night, and Carrie Jacobson, a teenage girl with long blonde hair, walks into their house's hallway. She accidentally bumps into a lamp that makes a sound, waking up both her parents in deep slumber. It seems like this frequently happens as both of them don't panic, and her mother even volunteered to go check on her. While her mother fixes the lamp, Carrie repeatedly hits her head with an axe and violently attacks her father next, eliminating them both that night. After doing the deed, she runs outside the house, flees into the dark woods, and never returns to that house. 4 years have passed. Near Jacobson's residence, Dr. Sarah, with her 17-year-old daughter, Alyssa, had just arrived from Chicago. They are with their real estate agent and neighbor, Dan, to give them the keys and for a new house tour. They marvel at the beautiful house with a good backyard that Sarah got for an affordable price. Even so, this affordable price has a catch, as they see themselves on the same street as the Jacobson house, the place where the daughter, Carrie, eliminated both her parents. While Sarah unpacks her things, Alyssa decides to explore the woods and finds used blankets on the ground. Not only that the place feels eerie, but she also hears rustling sounds as if someone is hidden watching over her. With that, she immediately leaves and goes home for dinner.
It appears that Sarah and Alyssa's father had just gotten a divorce. This will also be their first time together living in one house for a long time. As Alyssa grew up mostly with her father, she's not used to that. That night, Sarah hears sounds from the disturbing house and sees the light on at an ungodly hour, but decides not to interfere since it's empty as far as she knows.
The next day, the mother and daughter get introduced to the rest of the neighbors in a small get-together. It's a small suburb, so everyone knows each other. Sarah discovers that Ryan, the son and last surviving family member, is living in the Jacobson house, while Alyssa meets Taylor, a guy her age. Despite his mother's grand introduction about Tyler's achievements, Alyssa doesn't find him that impressive. During lunch, Sarah and Alyssa learn what became of Ryan after the tragedy and the rumors that Carrie lives in the woods. They also realize how much their neighbors hate Ryan and how much he isolates himself from the rest of the community. Alyssa thinks that their neighbors are acting like total jerks with their jokes about burning the house down and making jokes about his sister. The next day, Tyler invites Alyssa to a famine relief group meeting. At first, she turns down the invitation as she has plans with her mother, but when Sarah tells her that she'll be working a night shift, she ultimately agrees to come with him. To her disappointment, Tyler brings her to a party where teenagers do what they do best, having fun as if they're adults. She also discovers that some of Tyler's credentials came from his father's card, and he is not the wonder boy everybody thinks of when he tries to assault her in a vacant room. Despite the thunder rumbling in the distance, Alyssa leaves the party and goes home on foot. An unknown car stops in front of her. Fearing for her safety, she tries to call Sarah but is left on voicemail. The car approaches her and an unknown man asks if she wants to drive. She refuses by saying that her driveway is nearby, but he knows it's a lie and introduces himself as their neighbor, the infamous Ryan. Ryan continues to ask her if she wants a ride since it's going to rain and she's 10 miles from home, but Alyssa refuses to accept the invitation. However, when the rain starts pouring down, she has no choice but to go inside the car and accepts the invitation. Growing uncomfortable with the silence, Alyssa bursts out an insensitive thing about Ryan's parents' death and immediately apologizes for it. Ryan didn't mind and answered that he was only living in the house because that's the only thing he had left of them. He opens another conversation about hearing Alyssa's beautiful voice singing that morning and learns she used to be in a band back in Chicago. Alyssa immediately notices the old cassette tapes that Ryan is using and an 8-ball keychain attached to his keys. Ryan pulls up at Alyssa's driveway and bares his heart at her. She thanks him and enters the house where her mother anxiously awaits her. The tension arises more when she learns that Ryan drives her daughter home. In Ryan's room, he prepares a canned soup for dinner. Then he walks down to the basement and through an underground compartment where a secret room is located. He gets the keys at the door's top rail, his usual hiding spot, and locks the door. Carrie, who's been in the secret room all the time, immediately attacks him. Despite her aggressive attacks, he could overpower her and pin her down as he sedated her. He gently scolds her for attacking him every time he visits when he only wants to take care of her. He also reminds Carrie to behave in front of their new neighbors. The next day, Alyssa avoids Tyler but gains a new friend, Jillian, the girl she met at the party, who is too wasted to introduce herself. Jillian introduces Alyssa to her brother Jake and his best friend Robbie. Jake tells Alyssa he wants to meet her because he knows she used to be in a band and invites her to be part of the Battle of the Bands with their crew. He also gives her a USB stick with their music. If she likes it, she's more than welcome to attend the practice tomorrow. Meanwhile, Sarah asks the local officer Bill about Ryan. Bill, unlike their neighbors, respects Ryan and wishes that people would give him more sympathy because of his tough life, rather than shutting him down. He immediately assures Sarah that no one has ever complained about him, except for their house taking them the property value because of its violent history. That day, Alyssa visits Ryan at his house to give him a CD and sees him checking her website page to check more of her music. She notices a baby monitor intercom, children's drawings on the fridge, and a stockpile of canned goods. She looks around the house and sees a family portrait and a room resembling a nursery. Ryan confides in her and begins to share what happened to Carrie. He starts by saying that his sister had brain damage from an injury from falling and hitting their head when they were younger. All of this happened while she was under his watch. After that, she became violent and aggressive, which explains the bars and the windows in that room. Sullen from remembering the past, Ryan visits Carrie but forgets to lock the door. At home, Alyssa tells Sarah about Ryan being sweet despite having a lonely life. Upon hearing that she entered the house, her mother immediately confronts Alyssa's tendency to fix people, which offended her. Since Ryan forgot to lock the doors, Carrie takes this as an opportunity to escape and head toward the neighbors for help. Ryan, upon seeing her sister escaping, immediately runs after her. His sister even reaches the porch of their neighboring house, where Alyssa is home alone because her mother is doing another night shift. When Alyssa hears rattling at their door, she carefully checks it out, only to get surprised by Jillian. Under their porch, Ryan holds Carrie's mouth very tight to prevent her from screaming. The next day, Alyssa showcases her singing skills, which assure her a spot in the Battle of the Bands. That night, Sarah invites Ryan for dinner to get to know him better. When Sarah has too much to drink, things immediately go wrong, and she tactlessly interrogates him about his life.
Alcohol is the drink that will induce honesty as she expresses her disapproval of their relationship. She also gives one condition for this relationship to continue. The two of them cannot be alone together if she's not around.
Feeling uncomfortable with Sarah's judgmental gaze, Ryan leaves the house politely. Their relationship becomes unstable, causing them to drift apart slowly. The next day, Alyssa meets up with Ryan and asks him if he could give her and Jillian a ride. Ryan tells her that they're not allowed to do that as per Sarah's condition, but Alyssa says Jillian is with them, so technically they're not alone. When they drop Jillian at her house, Alyssa comes with Ryan for some alone time. She also shares that she set up their home phone to forward Sarah's calls to her phone, so she will never know that she's not home. Ryan takes Alyssa to the forest to bare his heart again, and she can't resist but kiss the sadness away. They take it inside the house, and their noises wake Carrie up. Knowing that Ryan has someone with him and is too distracted to notice small noises, she quietly slides a pizza box under the door and bangs it so the key would fall and she could easily get out. She quietly goes up to the living room while Ryan is waiting for Alyssa, who's currently in the bathroom. When Ryan sees Carrie taking a knife, he pushes Alyssa away before she could even see her. He tells her that she's not supposed to be inside the house and shuts the door in her face while he immediately runs after Carrie. Carrie heads towards a car with a couple inside, but Ryan pulls her aside to hide while he covers her mouth. The boyfriend checks outside and even shouts Carrie's name, as it is an urban legend in their place that she lives in the woods. Carrie continues to struggle to break free and scream, while Ryan also struggles to keep her mouth shut and subdue her. Because of this, he accidentally cracks Carrie's head, ending her life. Ryan pleads the lifeless body in his arms, but it remains unresponsive. He discards the body and later mourns the loss of his sister in a pub. There he meets Peggy, a kind of barista who gives him a pastry and milk free of charge because of his gloomy demeanor. The next day he calls Alyssa to apologize for pushing her that night without any reason and says that he needs to see her because he has some things to say. In return, she invites him to the Battle of the Bands. Ryan is seen to be upgrading the locks in his house. That night, Ryan goes to the Battle of the Bands, and Tyler and the other teenage boys are eyeing him in his car. Just when he's about to say what he's about to say to Alyssa, another student informs Ryan that the same group is trashing his car earlier. They immediately leave, and Ryan sees his late father's car damaged. They try to stop them, but she gets dragged by another student when he gets beaten up. To retaliate, Ryan breaks Tyler's legs and runs away afterwards. Knowing that he only has one place to go, Tyler's friends gather to go to his house to set it on fire. Alyssa immediately follows them with Ryan's keys, which he dropped when getting beaten up. Fortunately, she drives his car and extinguishes the fire before it could cause irreparable damage to the house. Sarah calls to ask if she's home and if she's not with Ryan because Tyler just got admitted. Alyssa defends him, but Sarah insists that she stays home. When she successfully fools Sarah, she starts to fix something inside the house when she sees a tampon and blue contact lenses in the trash bin. When she hears rattling and banging, Alyssa decides to explore the house. At the hospital, Tyler's parents are insistent on filing charges, but Bill defends Ryan with all his heart and decides to check on Ryan in his house. Then, seeing Sarah, who is frantic and cannot keep calm because of a bad feeling, he volunteers to check up on Alyssa.
The mother's instinct when it comes to their children has never been wrong. With Ryan's keys, Alyssa follows the banging sounds and opens the basement, only to find that the washing machine caused the banging.
However, she sees the secret compartment and enters it without hesitation. She cannot help but appease her curiosity and opens the door where she sees a room. A muzzled girl suddenly attacks her and Ryan arrives just in time to subdue her. She calls her Carrie when it is Peggy from the pub. She has mismatched eyes, one is brown, her real color, and blue, the other with a contact lens that Ryan put on her to match her appearance with Carrie. Still, under the delusion that this person is Carrie, he sedates her and assures no one will take her away. Upstairs, Alyssa finds the contact lens in her fingers and discovers Peggy's wallet. Just behind her, Ryan asks her not to tell what she discovered to anyone. Alyssa, who knows she's in danger, tries to leave calmly by saying her mom called. Ryan, knowing that she'll tell it to others, bangs her head, rendering her unconscious. Unknown to him, Alyssa drops her phone on the ground. When Alyssa gains consciousness, Ryan reveals the truth. Carrie died that day on the swings, and their parents just buried her body in the woods. He talks to himself about not being allowed to have both Alyssa and Carrie, so he'll make Alyssa into her instead. Alyssa realizes what he just said and pleads for both her life and Peggy's. However, she cannot do anything as Ryan carries Peggy's body outside the room to discard it somewhere. Sarah, looking at Tyler's x-ray, suddenly fears for Alyssa's safety and tries to call her, but it only goes to voicemail. She realizes she's been forwarding her calls all this time and asks Bill to go to Ryan's house first. While Ryan prepares the items to transform Alyssa into another Carrie, he reveals more of his truth. When his sister died, his parents punished him by dressing him up as Carrie and locking him up in the house. Whenever Ryan retaliates, his mother slaps him as a punishment. It turns out that Ryan is the one who ended the life of his parents that night, and he had been doing the very same abuse he went through to all the girls he thinks would fit Carrie. Bill knocks on the door, which alerts both Ryan and Alyssa. Ryan comes out to greet him, and Bill tries to ask him about the reasons for his actions, while Alyssa tries to break free from her constraints. Sensing that something's wrong, Bill calls Sarah's home phone, which forwards the call to Alyssa's phone, which is on Ryan's floor. When he realizes he's about to get caught, he turns off the lights while Bill takes out his gun. However, in the end, Ryan prevails as he blames Bill for not stopping the abuse his parents put him through and stabs him to death. Alyssa succeeds in freeing herself from the constraints by burning it with the lamp.
The pain is too much, but her will to survive this psychopathic ex-lover is much stronger. When Ryan returns, Alyssa knocks him down with the door and barely barricades the door with a washing machine.
She tries to get Bill's gun, but it is not there, so she tries to go outside the garage. All the doors and windows are locked, so she goes inside the car. She sees chloroform, which Ryan used to subdue her once again. Ryan drags her body and throws her inside the trunk. At the same time, Sarah pulls over in the driveway and rings the doorbell. Alyssa wakes up and sees Peggy's lifeless body beside her. While Sarah bangs the door, Alyssa breaks the car's seats so she can escape. Ryan opens the door and tells Sarah that her daughter is not with him, but he fails to drive her away when she hears Alyssa calling for help. However, Ryan stabs her in the stomach while Alyssa finally escapes the garage. Seeing how Ryan carelessly throws her mother's wounded body, Alyssa couldn't help but grow furious. Ryan is about to throw Sarah's body in the trunk when he realizes Alyssa has escaped. Alyssa finds Bill's gun and takes it to use it against Ryan. He turns off the power so Alyssa will struggle, but she's able to get a flashlight and successfully shoots him. Thinking he's dead, she attempts to get his keys, only for him to still be alive and about to stab her. Luckily, Alyssa is truly Sarah's daughter, as Sarah, despite a wound in her stomach, hits Ryan in the head with a hammer and takes Alyssa away from the house. When everything is over, the mother and daughter pack their things to move away. Meanwhile, Ryan is locked up in an asylum, doing a puzzle, and continues to be haunted by his parents' abuse.
This movie might be too much with those with a faint heart, as you'll have to suffer from many heart attacks as the story continuously goes deep into the mind of Ryan and his basement. This movie reminds us to trust our motherly instincts if we're going to be a teenager, and do it in a way that we won't be trapped inside of someone's car trunk. Please subscribe to the channel to be notified when we upload, and don't forget to suggest movies you want us to recap in the future in the comments down below.